Welcome to my Brothers Keeper podcast. This is your host, Courtney Foster and Brian Payne.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, I am.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, I am.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Welcome. My name is Courtney Foster, and I'm your host. Brian's not here, but Brian Payne is my co-host, and we are our Brothers Keepers. All right, good people. Happy Wednesday. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everybody is getting over the hump. I send my blessings from Brian. He's actually at football practice today, getting it in. And we've, fatherhood is first, and he's very, very adamant about being in that role. So he get a pass today. Can we give him a pass today? Let's give him a pass today. All right. So, we have a special guest, that's going to be here today. And this is not his first week. This is not his second week. This is his third week coming and spreading the gospel of financial literacy, confidence, not giving up, making smart decisions. And if you just try, that's what we're going to talk about today, along with other things. So I'm excited to welcome our guest speaker today. So as you all are coming in, you're probably in your car, you're probably driving, you're probably at home doing different things. So we got around about 3 minutes before he comes to the stage. So I'm warning you, go ahead and cross your T's, dot your I's, and get somewhere where you can settle down and get this information. Take these notes and start building that legacy that we are known to do here. So as you all know, my Brothers Keepers podcast, we call it a podcast, but it's more of a movement, right? And we're building legacy through brotherhood. That's what we're doing. That's what we're about. Building legacy through brotherhood. And brotherhood is the community. Whether they're your blood or not blood, we want to build a community of believers that know that your legacy is not what you die and leave behind, but it's what you live every single day. So we want to encourage everybody to just become living legends or living legacies of what you want to stand for and what you believe in. So that's what we're homing here with my Brother's Keeper. We're going to get right to it. We have a guest speaker today. As you know, if you were here last week, he was a powerhouse, and he's coming. He's going to tip the scale again today. But without further ado, and I'm going to read his bio because some people, this may be your first time seeing him or hearing him. So I want to do my diligence in giving him his proper introduction. Now, his entire bio did not fit on this screen, so we condensed it just for you all. Mr. John D. Smith is a business and wealth strategy speaker with over 40 years of experience in sales, marketing, real estate, and investing. Having navigated multiple market cycles, including rebuilding during the 2007-2008 financial crisis, John brings a practical, battle-tested approach to leadership, resilience, and smart decision-making. He has represented over 400 homeowners and worked with investors and professionals at every stage, building system-driven businesses rooted in discipline, communication, and strategy. A former college athlete, John carries a competitive mindset that shapes how he teaches, grows, and succeeds. John speaks to high schools, colleges, business groups, and professional organizations through keynotes, workshops, live podcasts, and coaching. He is also a co-author of 2 real estate books and a 3-time Circle of Honor Award recipient. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome to the My Brothers Keepers podcast platform, the one, the only John D. Schmidt. Clap it up for him. You're back.
It's too much, I'll tell you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's not enough. It's not enough. We got to give you more. All right.
You know what I want to do? I know Brian's not here, so hopefully he can hear the replay of this. But the first thing I want to do is I want to tip my cap personally to you and Brian for creating this platform and the effort you put into it, the time you put into it. But more than anything else, you guys are all about your hearts. You're doing this because you want to help. You're doing this because you want to help. You and I have never talked about this before, so I'm embarrassing you here for a minute. And Brian, but I want the listeners to know that there needs to be many, many more Courtneys and Brians in this world because you're doing this to help, and particularly the younger crowd that's just trying to find their way in this world. So I applaud you both for creating this platform, and I am honored and privileged to be here once again. So thank you for having me.
You will receive that. I received that. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
People like you make these platforms possible, right? People like you come in and bless us with the wisdom and the knowledge. So we're thankful to be able to be a part of this movement and have a platform as such. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, Courtney, what I might suggest is, like you and I discussed, maybe I'll do a quick 5-10 minutes recap of where some of the high points from last week, like we did last week from the week before. And we give a refresher to some of the points, because I've covered a lot of stuff in the first two sessions, and I got a whole lot more to come. But, it's like we want to get as much to them as we can to create some question and answer and some deeper thinking. And get that thinking advanced forward to the next level. So couple of the things here, we're going to go through this first recap pretty quick, and then we're going to get into tonight's topics, because I told you I want to bring a little fire and thunder tonight for the listening audience.
Let's go. We'll take it. We'll take a little rumble tonight. It's not going to hurt anybody.
So they're being generous enough with their time. So the least we can do is give them some thought-provoking topics that they can go ahead and take on with them. Okay.
Absolutely.
So what we started with last week, I'm just looking at my notes here.
Mm-hmm.
When we first set sail with this, those statistics that are out there, and this, bother me to no end. 3/4 of the millennial age group in this country is over $100,000 in debt, and that doesn't include their mortgage and their rent payment. $1,000 car payments. Yeah, $1,000 car payments are becoming very, very common. 40% of this population doesn't have the wherewithal to handle a $400 surprise bill in this country. 60% of this country is not equipped to handle a $1,000 surprise bill that could come along, an emergency, let's say. So my whole point is, it doesn't need to be this difficult. And everybody has different circumstances, obviously, and that's the main point for tonight. If you just try, I think I've got a pathway here, regardless of where people are at, to get them set sail on a path that can really give them some leverage moving forward. So what we mentioned last week was a simple path to create financial security regardless of where you are currently. So whether you're younger, whether you're middle-aged, if you're older, regardless of where you are, because it is never, ever too late to improve your finances, regardless of what your situation is. And I like talking about small little increments, because you put it best, Courtney, We want to start a snowballing effect, and we want to play the long game.
That's
It ain't
right.
going to happen overnight, but if you
That's
just
right.
get started, you're going to be amazed in a few short years where this all could go. So the first thing is the 10% rule. We want to take 10% of our income, whatever that is, and you want to get in a weekly habit of investing that. And we're talking about you and I doing an actual workshop where
Oh yeah.
from ground zero, okay,
Yep.
somebody raises their hand and said, John, I'm in. I
Yep.
want to start down this path. How do I get started? We want to
Yep.
do that workshop here real soon to
Yep.
get people on their way that still are a little bit uncertain, just how to start the engine. And it'll do them a world of good, I promise.
It's coming, people.
there
It's
you
coming.
go.
It's
Number
coming.
2 is pay yourself first. You want to get in a habit of every week. Let's say you get a weekly or bi-weekly paycheck. When you get that check, we'll figure out what increment is safe and comfortable for you to invest every week. Pay yourself first. So you don't pay all your bills first and hope you have a little bit left over to invest. No, you take that 10% and invest it. You pay yourself first and then pay everything else. And believe me, you'll figure out how to make that work. Okay? I do this every week without fail. You can't do it for a few weeks or a couple months and then quit for a while and go back to it. You lose a lot of momentum. Okay? I'm a huge advocate of what we call blue chip stocks. And what that is for the people that weren't here, it's these huge behemoth companies that do hundreds of millions of dollars of sales, like a Johnson & Johnson, a Coca-Cola, a General Mills, that have been around for decades and pay really strong dividends that you get for owning the shares of stock. This is amazingly simple to do and to start if you just give it a chance. That's why I'm thinking, Courtney, it'd be good at some point just to break this down into a little bit of a workshop. And
I agree.
let's get it down to the bare bones A, B, and C building blocks.
That's
and it'll be
good.
so much easier, and it's a lot of fun for the new people. Okay. The next point here is something I know it really struck a chord with you last week, is when I raised the question, how do you lose $10,000? How do you lose $10,000? And the short answer is $27.40 a day. If we make unwise decisions with just $27.40 a day times 365 days, you just lost $10,000. Now, we're not suggesting, we eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches 7 days a week. You got to live and you have a right to treat yourself. But when you pay, and I don't drink coffee, but whatever these exorbitant amounts of fancy coffee drinks are versus whatever, there's ways you can save some money. So take big percentages of that $27.40 a day, multiply it by a week, a month, a year, and then 5 and 10 years. What that turns into is a staggering amount of money. And we're gonna structure a workshop here to make this so visible that you can reach out and touch it and see exactly how this is done. And then you'll be on your way.
That's good.
So the last thing here on this page was generational wealth. Now, we hear that term a lot, Courtney, as you and I were talking, but a lot of people misunderstand the term. It's just not passing things down to your children or your grandchildren. Generational wealth is passing down assets, things that are going to increase in value.
That's
So a car is going to decrease. Clothes are going to decrease. Jewelry is going to decrease. Okay? But stocks, bonds, T-bills, that's going to increase in value. Okay, I shared the story a couple times now about my grandson. I opened up an account for him, and Lord willing, by the time he gets to 18 years of age, there'll be enough money in that account that he can go to any college in the country he wants. That's the way I want it, because I don't want him to have to be riddled with student loan or start off in life, buried in debt when he doesn't have to. So, like I made the joke, how many toasters do we need? I only need one. We don't need 5 toasters. We don't need 4 refrigerators. You get my point?
Yes,
And
sir.
then take that difference and invest it. Okay. Okay. The next thing, we went through this kind of fast last week, Courtney. If I were to start all over again, some of the cliff notes I would recommend, and this is whether we're 20, 40, 60 years of age, it doesn't even matter. Okay. Read. We all have to try to start reading a little bit more. And I don't care if it's a couple pages a night, that's over 700 pages a year. That's a couple of full books, whether it's finance, whether it's personal development, whether it's, we're going to talk a little bit about fear and confidence here tonight with some great topics, stuff we can all use and better ourselves each and every day with. Okay. Number 2, this is the main reason we got started on our first topic, is learn how to handle money. Learn how to handle money. Okay. So we don't end up in these deep financial ruts that for some are just so difficult to overcome. And, it just doesn't need to be that way. Now, having said that, my next big topic is number 3 on that page: ask, ask, ask. So if there's something in this world that we're not aware of, we don't understand, it doesn't make sense, I feel lost talking or asking about it, it's all right at our fingertips. Whether it's the internet or social media or even AI, you can find out, or just simply ask somebody like Courtney and I. That's why we're here to help. We know a few things, him and I, but what good does it do if we just keep it and don't share it? I love passing it forward, as the saying goes. There's nothing that excites me more than helping somebody that may be struggling a little bit on a topic or a subject matter, and all of a sudden, boom, the light goes on and they are soaring. I get a bigger kick out of that than if it's my own self. Does that make sense? And that's coaching, right? So the next thing is journal. We all have to start journaling and writing things down. So whether it's notebooks or binders or keeping it in your phone, if you use a detailed CRM, you have to journal things. I've got notebooks and binders all over my office here that go back many years, and I still revert back to them. So if you don't write an idea down, by the end of that day, it's already forgotten. Okay, that's been proven over and over and over. So just write it down and log it. I call it journaling, and that journal over time will be worth a fortune as to what kind of knowledge you will pick up. Okay. The littlest things are the biggest things.
My favorite one, my second favorite one right here.
Things are the biggest things. And, I came from very humble beginnings, and probably some of the people on this call may have as well. I can't see the audience, so forgive me. I think they can see me, but I can't see them. Yeah. So I love talking about the smallest of increments, because I know what can be built if you just give it a little time, if you just give it a chance. It's staggering.
That is my second favorite nugget.
Is it?
Is the little things are the big things. That is so important. And it applies to every area of your life, relationships, finances, school, coaching, parenting, everything. That is a universal principle, people. Thank you for that one, John. I just wanted to chime in on that. That is my second favorite one right there.
Yep. So the last couple, and then we're going to get to our main topic here. Okay. Items like cars, clothes, homes, those are not wealth, even though some people think they are. That's just spending. That's not wealth. That's superficial, artificial, whatever's appropriate. Cars, clothes, and homes are not wealth. That's just spending. Okay. So the big takeaway on that topic is this country we live in, the United States, is now better than ever before at making and earning money. People are making more money. The stock market's at its all-time high. Compare anything you want. The price of homes, the price of cars, the price of clothes to go out and purchase a few things. This country has become better than it ever has in history at making money. But guess what else? It's also become the worst it's ever been at keeping it. You know, what this country is $17 trillion in debt. I don't even know how many zeros that is. 17 trillion. I read that more than once. And you know what kills me? Let me jump off track here. I'm going to just prove how I'm a simple guy, okay? So they quit making pennies. We've all heard about that. You go in a gas station, you want a Coke and a candy bar. They don't have enough change because they don't have pennies anymore. So we can be $17 trillion in debt. And I hear about that new showroom at the White House he's building. This costs millions, but yet we can't figure out how to make a roll of pennies. So, I mean, I missed a turn somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so enough of that. That's where we left it off last week. Now, let's get to tonight's main topic. If you just try. If you just try. This is a great book topic, and I've got several chapters I've been scribbling. I'd love to write a book on this topic and just go long and deep and wide on it, get some input from a lot of great people like yourselves. If you just try, you would be amazed as to what you can accomplish in this world. So whether it's if you're a student and you're trying to figure out what you want to major in college, what field do I want to go into? What do I think I may be interested in? What am I not interested in? And you're struggling to take that first step. So here again, you're going to hear me repeat this in coming sessions many, many times. Ask away. There's only one way you're going to find out, because there's people out there like Courtney and I that are dying to help you, but you got to ask for help. And we won't charge you a dime, I promise. Okay. We're here to help. We got big hearts. Okay. So whether it's a major in school, how about a hobby? How about a common interest? Whatever it may be. You know what I mean? I play golf. I guess you could call it that. I shoot in the 90s. I'm not very good. My son's a great golfer. So I play, you know, because he loves the game. So whether it's a sport, a hobby, an interest, workout, exercise, reading, take up another subject, you know, anything you want, if you just try. What kills me is there's people in this world that go through many, many years, and in the depths of their heart, they know they're capable of doing a whole lot more than what they have or what they're currently doing, but they struggle just to take that first step. Now, we're going to talk about an idea called confidence and fear here in a minute, and part of that has to do with that. But if you never try, you never what? Find out.
That's right.
Okay. I've been in sales for over 40 years. I've made tens of thousands of phone calls. I've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of appointments. And I've had everything happen to me. You hear, sales, look out. I don't want any part of rejection. I don't want to deal with rejection and fear of failure and all that. I could write 10 encyclopedias on fear of, because it's all happened to me. I train salespeople at a high level, especially in real estate. And I had 18 years in corporate world before I get into real estate. I tell all the newbies, listen, any mistake you're about to make, I've already made 100 times, because I never had anybody there to show me. So every mistake you make, whether it's a little one or a big one, chances are I've already made it 100 times, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Because if you don't try, you can't make a mistake. If you never make a mistake, you failed right there. So shame on all of us if we never try. You know what I'm saying? So if you just try is this main topic, and you all will be amazed. You all, that sounded Southern, didn't it? I'm teasing. Will be amazed what you have inside you if you just try. I mean, you heard me last week, I'm from blue collar Detroit, Michigan. They build cars up there. Okay, where I'm from, you got three choices as to where you're going to work in your life: Ford, General Motors, or Chrysler's. Chrysler's is gone now, but you see my point? So like when I went home one day and I told my dad I was right out of school, I got a job and it looks like I may be going into sales. Sales? He burst out laughing. Sales? I thought you were going to go work at Ford like I did. You know, that's the mentality we came from. Blue collar, hardworking, and go from there. So wouldn't you believe, well, 3 months and 43 years later, I'm still in sales because I gave something a try that I had no idea I had in me, knew nothing about it. I didn't even know what questions to ask, let alone what the answers were. You know the term, you don't even know what you don't know yet? I was like that. I was like that my whole 20s. Okay, my whole 20s, from 22 to 30, since I got out of college, I didn't even know what I didn't know. But I have another little term out there. I like to keep it lighthearted, and I like to make fun of myself. I have more guts than brains. So I'm not afraid to try. I'm not afraid to fail. Because if I don't, it'll drive me crazy in terms of the what if I would have tried. In other words, I got to turn that stone over. If I fail, I fail. If I find out it's not my cup of tea, okay, great. At least I now know. But if I never tried, shame on me. What could have been? You know what I'm saying? If I never even tried. So there's many young people, like you said, Courtney, like I'm going to Texas to speak to a college next week on a whole array of topics. And this is going to be I got the whole faculty for 90 minutes. And we're going to cover, I'm going to bring some fire and thunder to that group, Courtney, like we talked about.
Let's do it.
Yeah, because there's so many young people that hold themselves back nowadays before they even give themselves a chance. So like we were discussing, you got internet, social media, now AI coming at you 100 miles an hour. And you're just trying to find a front door. You know, how do I apply for a job? What kind of line of work do I want to go in? And it doesn't matter, male, female, young or old, we all have our niche. My point is each and every one of us have greatness in us. We just got to go find it.
That's right.
And it's people like me, I'm nothing but a bridge. I'm a bridge from somebody that's been to school. I got my degree. Wasn't easy, but I got my degree. Now I've worked my full head off all my adult life. And now I'm able to look back and say, you know what? I can pass a few things back that I had no idea how it worked when I was a kid. And I get a big thrill out of that to help some people get out of the starting gates. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing better than that. It's not even about money or prestige or your title or your role. It's letting somebody go and really excel at things that they didn't know they had in them. That's what I love about these kinds of discussions here, because if we can get one little nugget into somebody and say, you know what, they've been what I call bashful Benny. They've been quiet, bashful, leery to ask questions their whole life. And they're still uncertain what the future holds. And if Courtney or I can turn one little light on and say, you know what, you might want to go down that path and check that out. And you hear a little ways down the road, oh my goodness, did that person ever explode? Because of a little tiny suggestion you gave them way back when? I mean, what's better than that?
That's good.
Okay. So many students struggle with this whole fear of failure. They have a lot of self-doubt, rejection, feeling like they're not good enough. Well, let me tell you, I was one of them. I went to Wayne State in Michigan, in Detroit, in good academic school. But I'm the guy that at the beginning of the semester, we carried around textbooks back then, okay? When I'd walk in a class, I thought I was in the wrong room after 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't even know what in the world they were even talking about. I'm looking at my schedule. I must be none of this is making. You ever feel that lost? That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. And guess what? There's thousands of young people like that in this world, whether it's still in school or out there in the real world where they're totally lost and they have nobody to turn to. Well, nowadays, guess what? The good news is it's all readily available. We never had internet. We never had social media. We never had AI. I didn't even know what AI was until very recently. Now I'm on Gemini every night, getting my stock projections. You know what I'm saying, for my little grandson, and it's a blast. It's a blast. So you got to do a little legwork on your own, and you got to put some time in. But like I keep saying, if you just try, you will be amazed what you have in you. Each and every one of you who's either in here in person or listening, from their home or their car, you'd be amazed what can happen in this world if you just give things a try. One of the things we keep going back to students, Courtney, is they've got to get out of their comfort zone.
That's
And there's a lot of adults that say, okay, this is my little domain. Don't ask me to go over here. Don't ask me to go over here because I don't like it. I want to stay right where I can see everything. Well, you know what? That's fine. But 5, 10, 20 years, you're going to still be right here where you could be here, 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 and here. No more complicated than that. If you just try and turn a couple of stones over, I'm living proof. Okay. And I by no means was I used to say I couldn't get a 4.0 grade point average if you multiplied mine by 2. You know what I mean? So I'm the guy that always had to take classes twice, 3 times. I had to take the real estate exam here in North Carolina 3 times because the laws in Michigan are different than they are here. And I thought I was answering questions 100% right. I mean, I got in the 90s, I was close. But the few of the local technicalities I answered wrong because I'm not from here. And then when I got through and got my license, I mean, it was game on because I know how to sell, but I didn't know a little of the things, the technicalities. So I had to keep asking and asking and asking. And finally I had to, finally I passed. So the whole fear of failure, I'm going to get into that now. It's a gigantic topic. Now, some people want to admit it. Some people don't want to admit it. Some people go through their whole life, what I call bashful Benny, and it costs them. It costs them dearly. So whether it's a job interview or trying out for a sport or trying out for an extracurricular activity, or you want to go sing in the church choir, or you want to take up a side job or a part-time job, and for some reason it just doesn't pan out. Well, there's only one way. You got to just go find out. You got to walk right through any kind of fear or resistance or hesitations. You'll feel you'll feel better even after you fail, let alone if you succeed, just to get that off your shoulders. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Every one of us has to do that. You got to just crash through that fear. So I got a topic here, and you probably all have heard this. We never really fail. Because you either win or you learn, and you can't fail if you don't learn. So you never really fail in life. If you try at something, whether it's something insignificant or whether it's something huge in perspective, you either win or you learn. Then you go on to something else. Okay? So I can't stress that enough. So let's talk about this. How to deal with fear. So I jotted down here, if we want to think about it for a second, isn't there many, many different types of fear? Would you say so, Courtney?
I would say so. I would absolutely say so.
Okay, so here's a few. How to deal with fear. Let's put this one up on the screen, Courtney, if you can access this one. Okay. Types of fear. There you go. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yep. It could be fear of failure. It could be fear of change. Now, that's a big one. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do things in a certain little cocoon every day, their whole life for many, many years, and they don't like change. They don't like change. No matter what you prove to them or show them or suggest, they don't like change. Okay, so that's going to limit them. Okay? The fear of not getting a job. We've all applied for jobs and held our breath. Are we going to get a call back? Are we going to get the job? Are we not? Okay, you never know. Fear of starting over after a job loss or after a breakup. What if you were a great employee for a company and nothing to your that you could do about it? The company goes bankrupt, or they get bought out and everybody gets let go. I've had that happen to me. Talk about a shock. You haven't done anything wrong. You've done everything A++, and you walk in one Monday morning and you don't have a job. That's happened to me. It's a shock to the senses. Believe me. Okay. Fear of demotion. If you're in a job where you feel like you're in quicksand and you're struggling and you're not cutting the mustard, whatever the situation is, you got an innate fear of a demotion. Well, how do we get around that? How do we climb out of that little hole? It's very possible. It's very possible. Fear of what others may think. Fear of your own finances. Fear of the unknown. That's a biggie. Fear of the unknown. That's a biggie. Okay. Fear of rejection. Fear of being left out. Now, these last two or three can be what? Personal, business, or professional.
Yep.
Fear of being left out. Fear of rejection. Fear of unknown. Okay. Now, I got good news. How about 6 magic words here this evening that will eliminate any and all anxiety? 6 magic words that will take care of a lot of this fear and wondering and worry and any possible anxieties. You ready? What if it all works out? So you were worried about, I'm going to be tongue in cheek here for a second. What if you're a young man and you got your eye on a certain young lady in high school or college and you don't have the nerve to ask her out? And weeks and weeks and maybe months go by and you finally work up the nerve and you're thinking, oh, she's going to say no. I don't have a chance. I don't have a prayer. I'm not up to her standards. And one day it works itself out. You start a conversation and you ask her out. Next thing you know, you go on a date and it couldn't have went any better. And whatever the future holds, you just accomplished something that you didn't think you had in you. Okay? As simple as that. So what if it all works out? You're worried about applying for a job. You're worried about, asking for a raise, asking for a promotion. You're worried about, should I go into this line of work? I may fail. Like me, sales? Are you kidding me? Everybody that I knew, including family, relatives, parents, I mean, they laughed at me when I said I'm going into sales. They were like, "Are you nuts? What do you know?" And I didn't know even how to open up a briefcase. I didn't know how to pack a suitcase. So a month later, I'm flying on airplanes coast to coast around the country, making presentations to boards of directors of big corporations. So I learned fast. And that was some anxiety there, let me tell you. Okay. So 6 magic words you can put your mind at ease. Stop all anxieties. What if it all works out? So there's a ray of hope with everything. We all got this in us. We just got to find it. Some take a little bit longer, but usually the ones take a little bit longer have a bigger what? Reward.
Yep.
Okay, especially your finances. This thing called compounding and this thing called stock dividends can be awful good if you give it a chance. Okay. Let's see where we're at here. Any questions, comments so far, Courtney?
Not at the moment. I will put it in a chat. And if 1 or 2 questions come in, I will be sure to read those out to you.
Okay, great. Let me keep pounding here on fear, okay?
You got it.
So I heard something years ago that one of these, I just never forgot it. Face your fear and it'll disappear. Face it head on. Treat it. Face it. Don't be afraid of it. Hit it head on. And the sooner you do, sooner you'll get it behind you and it'll be in the rear view mirror. Okay? Face your fear and it will disappear. So when you have a fear, instead of shying away from it or going around it or avoiding it, okay, what you want to do is attack it. You want to address it and you want to seek out everything you possibly can about it to find out, why am I afraid? What am I lacking here? Because you know what? I'm going to jump ahead here for a second. The vast majority of all fears are due to lack of uncertainty because you don't understand something. Like, I'll give you an example. We'll go back to school days. I used to get A's and B's in algebra, trigonometry, geometry. Sound familiar? And then they put me in this class called calculus, and I couldn't even spell calculus. So I was so far over my head all of a sudden, A's and B's in all my math classes, but put me in this thing called calculus. I thought I was speaking a different language, but I eventually found out. I had to really crack down and hit the books hard, and I got out of there with a B, I think, but it took me some time. Okay, you got to seek out and find out what connections you're missing so that fear goes away. Okay, we're going to talk about confidence here in a second, but if there's something holding you back, you got anxieties over, you're just not sure, just ask. And you heard me say this over and over in our last session. Ask, ask, ask. There are many, many people out there that are dying to help you, but they don't know it if you don't ask for help. A teacher, a coach, a pastor, a priest, family friend, just ask. Nobody's going to laugh at you. In fact, most will think higher of you for asking the question. But so many people are just bashful Benny. They're afraid to ask. They're ashamed. There's no shame. I promise you. There is no shame. You're hurting yourself the longer you keep it under the rug. Okay? All right. I've read this Jack Canfield quote. It's the fear of fear that you fear. It's the fear of fear that you fear. The fear itself hurts more than what you're actually afraid of. So fear is not a tangible thing. You can't reach out and grab it and touch it like, here's my phone. Fear is here. Now I got good news. You ready for this? Fear can be a mile wide, but it's only 1 inch thick. That's how easy it is to punch through it. It can seem like it's a mile wide. Oh, I'm so afraid of this big, ugly topic, whatever this is. But it's only that thick. And any of us can punch right through it if we approach it the right way.
That's good.
Okay? It's a mile wide, but only 1 inch thick. I learned that a long time ago.
That is a good one. I'm gonna have to steal that one from you, Mr. John. I will borrow it from you.
You help yourself. You help yourself, Courtney. You're more than welcome. We're all family here, right? So,
yes, sir.
All right, now let's talk about confidence. When you get right down to it, fear, anxiety, anybody think that can be directly related to lack of confidence? I do. Okay. So you can relate this to sports. You can relate this to speaking in front of a group. You can relate this to maybe things you're not aware of at your church, things you're not aware of at your school, things you're not aware of at a company you work for or a job you have. Okay. Confidence comes from reps and reps and reps. So in other words, you build confidence and you slowly destroy the fear. And many, that's what that is. That's what that is. That's how that works. You ever had that happen to you? And then once it connects, you're on your way. And that fear is long gone. There's nothing better than that, right? See, I used to be a baseball player, so I relate everything in my life to baseball. So I used to pitch, but when I'd go up to bat, if I couldn't hit a curve, I could hit anybody's fastball. But if he threw me a curve or a slider, I'd probably swing and miss 3 times. And then I made a couple of adjustments, stand up closer to the plate, stand up further in the box, and then I could hit that curveball a country mile. So you can relate that any way you want, okay? So you got to just build the confidence through reps and reps and reps. And then the fear slowly just goes away. Now, here's something. I read this once and I had to reread. Do you ever have to reread something 4 or 5 times before it really sinks in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Confidence is a skill. It's not a personality trait. Confidence is a skill. It's not a personality trait. So confidence is earned, it's developed, and it's grown, once again, by repetition, repetition, repetition. So the confidence is building. Okay, that's how I do that. And the fear just dissipates. It goes away, gone for good. And while all this is going on and we're working and we're climbing and we're churning away, in the back of your mind, don't forget those 6 magic words. What if it all works out after all? That's actually 7. What if it all works out? And we worried all that time over nothing. And then a big hearty laugh, right? Well, now you know, because you went and you found out. Okay. One of the things I try to do, I always find, you remember me mentioning in our first 2 sessions, the number one trait for the most successful people in this world, regardless of what line of work you're in, is your communication skills.
Yep.
So I'm a salesman. So I make my living on how I speak, how I sound, my enthusiasm, my approaches, my preparation. So I really try to pride myself on being really well prepared when I give a little talk like this or whatever my audience is. Like, I'm going to go list a home tomorrow up here in Concord, being I'm in real estate. And I spent about 2 hours this afternoon researching this home, the property, the neighborhood, the subdivision, because I really want to get this new client. If I don't go prepared, shame on me. I'm just winging it. That's not going to go very far. So preparation is the key. You want to speak with impeccability, as Jack Canfield says. Speak with impeccability. You want to be a master of your words. You ever notice you could be sitting in a room with 5 people, but one person, male, female, younger, older, speaks and articulates so well, they stand above the crowd. And you find yourself just compelled to just sit back and listen to that person. How did he or how did she learn to communicate that well? Well, guess what? That person is going to go a long way in this world, because everybody gravitates to somebody that can really communicate that well. And believe me, I'm an old ball player. I've heard all the slang talk there is. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's so important because it's a first impression. So here's another thing. Have you ever given any thought to how to listen? Listening is actually a science. The way I look at it, there's 2 kinds of listening. So whether you're talking to somebody one-on-one, a coworker, a parent, a child, a teacher, a coach, are you listening to them just to respond? Or are you listening to them to really listen to them and really hear what they're saying? Big difference. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
There's 2 different types of listening. So listening can be as powerful as how you speak and how you communicate, because it gives a direct message to the speaker, to the other person, not only how serious you're taking them, but you want them to expand even more. So like, if you ever really want to make somebody feel good, they're trying to tell you something, and whether you're really in tune with it or maybe not as much, say, you know what, I'm really fascinated by this conversation. Would you mind telling me more? How is it that you chose that line of work you're in? Or how is it that you ended up living in this area? You say you live in Matthews. How is it that you chose Matthews? And they'll light up like a Christmas tree that you're showing that much more interest in them, rather than just hearing them and then, okay, respond, and then off you go. That gets really shallow. Does that make sense? So
Yes, sir.
There's a science to how you listen, I found, and it's as important as how we speak. What's the old saying? We got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So, but to wrap this other topic up, fear is nothing more than a lack of confidence. And 95% of the time, if you just start asking away questions and study up on it and read up on it, 9 times out of 10, you can cut through that fear and make it go away really, really quick. But you got to take that first step. Okay? So, any questions so far?
We do have a question as it relates to one of your topics. Katrina dropped in a chat. She said, you showed us how to lose 10,000. How do you gain 10,000?
Oh, I'd be happy to, Katrina. Well, evidently Katrina wasn't at the first 2 sessions, but I'm happy to answer. Or maybe she was part of it. So
that's a good segue into the mastermind that we're gonna put together.
Sure is. Thank you for the question, Katrina. I can't see you, forgive me, but I know you're out there. Okay. So you heard me start earlier tonight. Let's revisit this for a minute. How can we make 10,000 or invest and get 10,000 back in a return? Well, the simplest way to do it, and like I was saying in our last session and the one before, regardless of what line of work we're in, what we do for a living, and most importantly, whatever our pay scale is, you want to get in a habit of taking 10% of your take-home pay. Actually, it could be your gross or your net, depending on how you're taxed and so forth. Take 10% of your weekly pay or bi-weekly pay and start investing that, okay? And this is a much longer-winded conversation, and that's why Courtney and I want to do a mastermind. And I've done very well in the stock market, and I started with just nickels and dimes, and I've been doing it a long, long time, and it's done me phenomenally well. My only regret is that I didn't even start 10 years sooner. But to answer Katrina's question, if you take 10% of whatever your current income is and get in a habit of investing that every week, and I can teach you and show you what to invest it in, it is amazingly simple. If you give it a chance and do that every week, you will start building a financial future like you will not believe. Because most of, say, the stocks that people like me invest in pay dividends, and they usually pay quarterly every 90 days. So the way I describe it, let's say whether we know a lot about stocks here or know nothing about stocks, you get paid for owning these shares of stock, and that comes in the form of dividends. And then you get a raise every year for doing absolutely nothing. That's called compounding. So I like the sound of that. When I first heard that, I get paid for owning these shares of stock, which are going to go up in value. And then I get an automatic raise because it's going to pay me dividends every 90 days just for owning these shares of stock. And then that starts snowballing, as Courtney says, over time. And in a few short years, that turns into something really, really nice. And then if you keep adding on to it, it gets crazy fun. So like you saw me, I don't know if you were on the call last time, Katrina, but it starts slow and it starts going up like this. And after a few years, it starts going straight north. And that's what I call crazy fun. And it's funny. I heard somebody the other day say, John, to get ahead in this world, the way things are, you got to have a second job. What's this term? You got to have a side hustle. You got to have another job and another source. Well, guess what? As simple as this is, this guy named Warren Buffett is who I've followed my whole life in my professional life. The compounded dividends are going to make you more money than any side hustle will, because you got to pay taxes on that extra income. Here, you don't pay taxes on it until you sell it, which hopefully are years and years down the road. So, I sell real estate for a living, but I invest in blue chip stocks. I don't want to invest in real estate. Quite honestly, I'm being transparent as can be here. Too many things can go wrong. I don't want to be a landlord. And I've heard hundreds of stories: buy and flip, buy and hold, buy and rent. Oh, you got to invest in real estate. See, I don't like that because too many things can go wrong. I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with repairs. I don't want to deal with payments, taxes that can go up, changes in a neighborhood. I can't control any of that. But I can sure as heck control my own finances by investing in things that I know are going to go nowhere but up over time. I don't know if Katrina can be helping there for me, but Courtney, I was just going to ask Katrina. I don't know if she heard last week the story I shared about my little grandson. So he's 2 years old now, and I opened up an account for him 2 weeks before he was born. So by the time he turns 18, knock on wood, there'll be enough money in his account through compounding and stock increases. He'll be able to go to any college he wants to go to. So that's generational wealth. So I don't want to give him 5 toasters. I want to give him shares of stock, and that'll take off. So
that's good.
That's good. Thank you, Courtney. So
Thank you. She said she'll reach out.
Katrina's question, if she's still there.
Yes, she said that she will reach out to you. Thank you. She appreciated it. Thank you.
Good. Anytime, Katrina. I'm glad to help. But, you don't, there are cases, obviously, where people have and still do. I am living proof, and I can't say this firmly enough. You don't need a second job or a third job or a side hustle as much if you just start soon with what you already have. I'll share that story. I hope Katrina's still listening to this because this will help her as well. Warren Buffett bought 1 share of Coca-Cola stock when he was 12 years old. His dad convinced him to buy 1 single share of Coca-Cola. Okay, so here's Coca-Cola, right? Diet Coke. It was $40. So he took his paper out money and bought 1 single share of Coca-Cola when he was 12 years old. So now he's 94 years old. So compounded dividends over and over. So over 80 years, that 1 single share is now worth $2.5 million. Now that's an extreme example because most of us don't have 80 more years in front of us. Like in my case, there's a lot more runway behind me than in front of me. But I got started early enough where I've done reasonably well. I wish I'd have started sooner and with more, but I can see what it's done for me and my family and now my grandson. So it's a matter of just taking that first step, but I control my own destiny. I don't want to leave it in the hands of tenants or landlords or other factors where too many things can go wrong. So if you're thinking, well, John, what if those stocks go down that you're investing in? Great question. Blue chip stocks don't go down over time. They go just like this. And I can prove that. I had the charts out in the first 2 sessions. Companies like Johnson & Johnson, General Mills, Coca-Cola, they don't go down. They're slow and steady. As Courtney says so well, you got to play the long game, and you got to rely on compounded dividends. And a little bit at a time, we're building a house, 1 brick at a time, week by week by week. You'll set yourself up like you won't believe. Because everybody wants to get rich quick, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And all these people that try to time the stock market up and down and up and down, they all go broke. But the people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger that are worth billions started with 1 single share of something. And then they kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. So It's once you get it started and you see the progress, you say, oh my goodness, that's so much easier than I ever thought it was. I wish I'd have done this years ago. And we were all there. So I would encourage you to just try it. And my phone number is going across the board here. Anybody's welcome to call me or text me. I'll help you any way I can. But my hope is to just help some people get started, and then the rest is up to them. Because for the ones that could have used it and would have wanted to use this but never knew about it, that breaks my heart. And it could have been a tremendous avenue for them. Okay? So it's right there for you. And you got everything on the internet. You got everything on social media, on AI. I never had any of this stuff. In fact, it's too fast for me. It's just too fast. But you have resources now right at your fingertips like never before. I can only say just put it to your own good use, and you should do phenomenal with it. So, Courtney, those are the main points I had this evening. Anything you want me to go over again? I lost the audio. Can't hear.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
There
we go. Sound like the Verizon guy. Can you hear me now? Good. But I am exhilarated on where this is going, right? I feel like we're at a good place to go ahead and start really getting more intimate on the questions, and maybe putting some people together and really concentrate on the individual needs of the people who have questions, or a little curious to know more about this. I think we're at that place, so I'm excited to work with you on that and work out some logistics. But people, very soon we will put something together where you can come in and have a small group of us will come together, and we will go from A to Z, and we're going to break this stuff down and answer some questions. And you're going to leave that room more empowered in those few hours than you probably have been up until this point. Right. And that's what we're leaning with this. So, John, I'm excited about that. But right now, I don't think there's any questions in the chat outside of Katrina. She said she's going to reach out to you. She's going to reach out to you, and she's going to follow up. But this was good information. I really like the fear, right? You say fear was a mile wide, but an inch thick or something like that. Is that
fear can be a mile wide, but only an inch thick.
That's powerful.
So it's actually really easy to punch through that inch like ice. But most people, whatever their fear or restrictions are, fear is in your mind. It's not anything we can reach out and touch or grab or throw out this window.
Yeah.
It's in your mind. But 95% of fear is just from a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
So whether it's the stock market or a business practice or a school subject, like I told like when I went into calculus, I didn't even know how to spell calculus, let alone pass the class. You know what I mean? I did good in all the other ones. And we've all gone through that. You walk into a curriculum and you feel like you're way over your head. So that's part of the learning curve. If it was all easy, anybody could do it, right?
Right.
There's people here in this group that can do some things way above and beyond what they ever expected if they just try. If they just try. And it's whether it's financial or whether it's business or a position, it's about you being the best you can be. And it's not like behind me here, don't laugh, but I got lucky and bumped into a few awards over the years here. those awards and these plaques behind me don't mean a darn thing. They're just paper. It's ink on paper. But you know what the meaning of those awards are? It's how I improved to get those awards. It's what it turns you into. You know what I mean? Good. From a naive kid from the east side of Detroit that didn't know how to board a bus when I got out of school.
That's good.
I got a few awards here from working my full head off and learning and asking and learning more and kind of bugging people I didn't know that, are you willing to help me? Would you mind if I ask you a couple questions? And they're glad to help. There's no shame. We were all there. Ask for help. Ask for help. And you'd be amazed once you get some confidence, then you're going to be amazed as to what you got in you. You're going to be,
That's good.
Oh my gosh.
That's
So
good.
you all can do it.
That's good. Yes, this is good. This is good. I will leave these replays up here for everybody to watch and to digest. We're gonna hit you again next week. We're coming at you next week, but we're gonna have some good news. We're gonna have, we're gonna have this stuff vetted out, and maybe have some dates for you and some things like that. Some call to action. So if you want to learn more about your finances, if you want to learn more about overcoming fear, if you want to know more about what to ask, when to ask, those things that are very, very, very important for any area of your life, this mastermind will be for you. It will be for you. And I'm telling you now, I'm in there, but I'm gonna be a student. I'm gonna be a student, taking notes, learning as much as I can, because there's so much more that I need to learn. I've came a long way, but I still have a long ways to go in terms of knowledge and understanding in this financial realm, as well as overcoming fear. Everybody has it, right? Everybody has that level of fear that they're dealing with. And like I say, what you're dealing with, somebody else has conquered. So it's just all about asking the right questions and being around the right people.
That's it, Courtney.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me again. You are wonderful beyond your years, as I said, and I didn't mean to embarrass you earlier, but it's worth repeating. I hope everybody that's listening and in this audience can give a big round of applause and show some real gratitude to Courtney and Brian, because he is here for none other reason, just to help you people. We're all in this together. We're all family, and let's have some fun. And let's see if we can progress step by step by step. So we're building a house here. Okay?
That's it. Thank you so much. We receive it.
Courtney.
Thank you. Until the
Talk
next
to you
time. Thank you, Mr. John. Thank you.
right.
Have a good one. All right. All right, good people. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. This is good stuff. Real practical information that you can apply today. Just things that we know to do that some of us may not have been doing, or it may be news to you. It may be new information that you just missed it growing up or in school or what have you. But we're here for it, and we're going to build on this, and we're going to build you up. We're going to pour into you, right? And this is going to be your hub for that information, that knowledge, that wisdom. And we're excited. So thank you for showing up, and we'll talk soon. Let's ride.